Welcome to Meditating with John Vervaeke. I'm a cognitive psychologist and a cognitive scientist at the University of Toronto. I study scientifically and academically mindfulness, meditative practice, contemplative practices, moving mindfulness practices. I study related phenomena like insight, flow, mystical experience, transformative experience, awakening experience, higher states of consciousness, the cultivation of wisdom. In addition, I've been practicing Vipassana meditation, metta contemplation, and Tai Chi Chuan for over 29 years in an integrated fashion. And I've been teaching those three, as well as some Qigong, uh, for almost 20 years. So, welcome. This is a course. Mondays are Dharma days. Every Monday, I teach a new principle. We usually do an exercise so you get a direct experiential understanding of the principle. And then Tuesday through Friday, we do some review, we sit together, and after every day, at the end of every day, Monday through Friday, there is a Q&A. That Q&A is directed specifically towards questions around this practice. Some of you have been asking me more general questions, like how does this practice, compare to Stoic practices, or how do I fit this into a more comprehensive way of life, or what's the relationship between what we're doing here and the cultivation of wisdom more broadly. Very general questions, or questions even about some of my other videos or my series Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. For those kinds of questions, we'll be having a live streamed Q&A tomorrow at 3 p.m. EST. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, you can find links in the description of this video to previous videos where you'll find both the previous sits and the previous lesson. There's a playlist dedicated to just the previous lessons, so you can go and catch up, so you can continue on with us if you would like. All right, so I think that's everything we need to do to get ready. So please get yourself ready into your posture. Put your phones on Do Not Disturb, and we will begin when I say begin. Begin. Slowly begin to come out of your practice, trying as best you can to integrate what you cultivated in your practice with your everyday consciousness and cognition. Coming out of your sit is part of the practice. So we'll have time for a few questions today. Keji Olaf Hugdai. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I find it very hard to do the rooting, and often I do not get past it within 15 minutes. I get really an agitated monkey brain. Can I try to do some rooting light to reduce the time? Yes. Yeah, you can. Perhaps just go to the center, do a little bit of rooting the center line of your head, maybe 1 or 2 breaths. Just that opening, right? Just the opening, and then sort of a melting and draining down to your heart. And then that opening, the opening you're getting with the looking and the listening, just that opening, letting it flow, and then melting and draining. Center of your abdomen, a couple breaths, just opening, letting it flow, getting that kind of relaxation that's a sensitization and stabilization, then opening and melting down to the center, right, of your root, the contact point on the earth, and then opening, letting it flow there, and then opening, melting, draining, sinking into the earth. So you can do that. That won't take you as deep, but it will hopefully give you a way of doing, as you say, a light version of it that still nevertheless gets you into the relaxation that's right, both a sensitization and a stabilization, and affords you finding your flow. Andre, hi Andre, it's good to see you again. What do you recommend to do when I start feeling the consciousness narrowing, and how to energize myself out of the feeling like falling asleep or losing consciousness? So one of the things, this is one of the few instances where you do want to direct your breathing. You want to take some very deep baby breaths, and you want to try and re-engage your flow very deeply in your abdomen, your heart, all of your torso. Right? Don't do that a lot. Don't hyperventilate, but 2 or 3, because you're falling asleep probably because you're getting too little oxygen in. So here, if this is really becoming a challenge, right? If you can't just sort of open your mind directly, then take some deep breaths. And while you're doing those deep breaths, really try to dive deeply into the flow. Really get the flow going in your abdomen and your heart, your shoulders and your torso. Don't do that for very long, but do that. I also recommend, to think of taking up a moving mindfulness practice that you do just before you sit, because that helps to engage the cerebellum. It helps to oxygenate the blood more, and it will help you to remain more awake while you're sitting. Kira Kroger, if something jarring happens right before starting, should you just wait until a later time to sit once my nervous system has had a chance to calm down? That's a good question, and that's a hard question to ask. So generally that goes with how long you've been practicing and how deep your practice is going. If it's very jarring, I recommend not trying to sit, because you'll just be replacing it. But I recommend, doing 2 or 3 open-eyed, 2 and 3 open-eyed, following your breaths, wherever you are, getting a sense of being centered and rooted, and coming in as much as you can to the flow feeling within your body. So yes, probably if you're relatively novice, don't go immediately into sitting if something jarring has just happened. But in that state where you're you want to train your brain so that when you're coming into something jarring, it looks to center and root and flow, and to open up that soft vigilance kind of paying attention rather than the hard focusing. So yes, probably not sit, but like I say, bring in open-eyed, finding your center. Don't do it comprehensively, just a little bit, finding your center, getting that sense of rootedness, coming into a flow state, and trying to remember what it's like to pay attention to whatever it is that's jarring, but pay attention with the soft vigilance. As you become less of a novice and you can go deeper in your meditation, then you would then sit. But if you're a novice, that's what I recommend you do. Karima, you're such a diligent follower of this practice, and I commend you for that. I have meditated for many years and never less than 30 minutes. It takes me 15 minutes to become still. Do you suggest our second meditation in the evening to be longer? If you want to sit there, it's not that you have to limit yourself, Karima, to 15 minutes. Remember I said this is always relative. I just picked 15 because I've taught this for a long time, and I know what sort of is on average for people. You want to always get in the zone of proximal development. If you need to sit for 30 minutes to get into that zone of proximal development, then sit for 30 minutes and sit twice a day for 30 minutes if you can. Nick Kennedy. Hi, Nick. Good to see you again. Can we bookend the additional mind questing directly after our morning sits? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you find that remember, this is never something you merely endure. If you find that you're getting educated, not in terms of the answers you're getting, but if you're getting educated in the process of meditative questing, then yes, you can do that. Very much, very much. So everyone, I want to thank everyone for joining. As always, I want to thank my dear friend and technomage, Amar, my beloved son, Jason. Please subscribe to the channel to be notified of the next videos. You'll also find on my channel a lot of videos about mindfulness and flow and insight, mystical experience and wisdom, etc. And also the comprehensive change I believe our culture is facing in awakening from the meaning crisis. Please invite others to this practice, to this sitting. Point them to the previous lessons if they want to catch up. I'm trying to help as many people as I can, and it would be great if you helped me help as many people as I can by reaching out, pointing people to this series, to my channel, etc. Please remember we have the live Q&A for those more comprehensive questions that people might have tomorrow at 3 p.m. EST. We will be announcing that. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and there will also be notifications on YouTube. So we're doing this every weekday morning from at 9:30 EST. Mondays are Dharma days, Tuesdays through Fridays are sit. And please remember, everybody, continuity of practice is really important. If you honestly can only sit for 5 minutes, sit for 5 minutes. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all tomorrow.